An outcast warrior enters a land plagued by an evil fate. He is not like ordinary men, for he carries the Dragon Slayer, a mighty blade of retribution, whose fury knows no equal. His enemies will know true fear once he starts to swing.
Alright, so I'm pretty sure everyone here knows I'm a fan of fantasy. But how many of you know I like dark fantasy? And no, not the weird stuff your wife reads about with the minotaurs in it. I mean actual dark fantasy. The good stuff. Like Berserk. Berserk is honestly one of my favorite manga of all time. I've been reading through it recently and having an absolute blast. So imagine my surprise when I found out there was not only a Berserk video game, but a Berserk video game with an original story written by Kento Momoria himself. May he rest in peace. The man was a legend. And on top of that, it's exclusive to one of my favorite consoles ever, the Sega Dreamcast. Why would I not want to play this? Oh, and did I mention this was the first official Berserk release in America? Yes, long before the 1997 anime ever came out. Long before the manga was officially available in America. This Dreamcast game was the very first piece of Berserk media you could officially get in the US. So look, it may be early to ask this, but I genuinely want to know, if this game was your first exposure to Berserk, comment down below and tell me what that was like. Because I really want to know what it was like to experience Berserk in that way. Alright, enough chitter chatter. Let's get into Sword of the Berserk, Guts' Rage. Before we even get into the story, I have to point out how fitting it is that one of the first things you see when you boot up the game is a giant warning screen. Wow, this game contains violence and unsettling, disturbing images and should only be played by mature audiences? All I can say to that is, it's Berserk. Yeah, you think? Something else I need to point out is the fact that this game's story takes place between the events of Volume 22 and Volume 23 of the manga. Anyway, the game opens with a group of travelers whose wagon has broken down. The travelers consist of a girl named Rita, a guy named Job, and an old man who never gets a name. Oh, and they have a dog. Bandits show up, because of course they do, and they're about to rob them and do much, much worse. And then Casca just wanders in and starts petting the dog like she's walking into a petting zoo. That's your introduction to her in this game. And right behind her is the man who's about to turn these bandits into confetti. Guts. Or as the game likes to call him,
this mean-looking guy is Gatsu. He's my buddy and carries my house, you could say.
Yeah, some early translations of Berserk referred to Guts as Gatsu. I'm not entirely sure why. I don't know much about the Japanese language, and I'm not a language expert. So I'm not going to pretend I know a bunch of stuff and try to explain it to you. But I do know this was a common mispronouncement of his name. So, who are these characters? Well, Casca is basically Guts' lover, but she's mentally broken from a traumatic event that we'll talk about much later. All you need to know now is that she's not fully aware of what's going on around her. And Guts, of course, is our main hero. The giant sword-swinging, demon-slaying, walking trauma magnet. And then there's Puck, who's basically a tiny chaos gremlin. He's the comic relief of the entire franchise, and stands out in this world like a Saturday morning cartoon character who wandered into a horror movie. So, after the intro cutscene, we finally get our first taste of gameplay. Sword of the Berserk is a 3D hack and slash, but keep in mind, this came out before Devil May Cry, so it plays very differently. Let me explain. You've got two main attack buttons, horizontal slash and vertical slash. And trust me, these matter way more than you would think. But we'll get to that in a minute. In the corner, you've got your items. You can sheath your sword or hold the right trigger and press the action buttons to use sub-weapons like bombs, Guts' arm cannon, and throwing knives. Just remember, everything except for the knives has a limited amount of ammo. So don't go full Doom guy and blow your entire arsenal on the first guy you see. Now, something that blows my mind is that every review I've seen, and I've watched several, completely forget to mention that this game has a dodge button. Yes, a dodge button. But it doesn't work like modern dodge rolls. Here's how it actually works. You dodge in the direction Guts is facing. So if you want to dodge left, you first have to flick the stick left to make him face that way. Then press dodge. Tap it for a quick hop and hold it down for a long slide. Learn this and the game becomes way easier. Trust me. And of course, you got Berserker Rage. You see that red meter under the health bar? When you take enough damage and fill it up, Guts snaps, and you basically become invincible. You hit harder, you move faster, and most importantly, you can say screw physics. Normally your sword bounces off walls if you hit one. This means you have to think about how you're going to swing your sword, whether you're going to use vertical or horizontal swings, and have to think about your positioning. But in Berserker Rage, walls are completely irrelevant. You can slice through anything, like you're cutting air. It's silly, it's ridiculous, and I'm absolutely not complaining. And also, this mission's music is great. Like, it fits the fight perfectly. And once Guts finishes turning the bandits into a Jackson Pollock painting, the performers invite him to watch their show in the next town. Guts wants absolutely nothing to do with this, but Casca seems interested. And Puck wants to go too, and starts pestering Guts in the most Puck way possible.
All work and no play will make you a grump. Come on. I wanna go. We both wanna go. Please. Oh, please, come on, let us go. Let's live a little. Come on, Gatsu. Please.
And eventually, Guts gives in. Mostly because he loves Casca, and partially because they need supplies. And partially because Puck is one poke away from being launched into orbit. This leads us into the opening title crawl. And I have to talk about the music here. The remix of Forces that plays here is immaculate. I love the original, but Forces 2 for this game is an absolute banger. And yes, Forces 2 is sung in Japanese. But the version in this game actually has a completely different lyrics from the original. They're written specifically to reflect the story of Guts' rage. We'll be breaking down the song later, line by line, because honestly, it's fascinating. And also, fun fact, the same composer who did the music for the 1997 anime, Sesumi Hisawa, worked on this game's soundtrack as well. Not every track, but most of them, and you can absolutely hear it. So, Guts, Casca, and Puck head down to watch the traveling performers, and everything's going fine, until they get to the strong man Job. And during his act, he slips and falls. His mask comes off, and yeah, that giant thing on his chest is not a birthmark. Turns out, Job is infected with a Mandragora, and the entire town hates Mandragora, so they immediately start throwing rocks at him, while Rita is begging them to stop. And of course, because this is Berserk, he transforms into a giant monster. And all I can say is, yeah, now you idiots will learn not to attack random people. So, Guts sees monster, Guts kills monster. Simple as that. This leads into the first boss fight, and I've heard people say this boss is a total crapshoot, that you just have to mash buttons and hope you win. You have to enter Berserk mode or you're screwed. And the truth is, no, absolutely not. None of that is true. Remember what I told you about the dodge button earlier? Yeah, you can dodge most of this monster's attacks if you actually use it. I played on normal difficulty, by the way, and I beat this boss on my first try. I did eventually enter Berserker Rage to finish it off, but for most of the fight, I was just dodging and getting behind the monster and slashing away. It's not a hard boss if you actually engage with the combat mechanics. Also, the music for this boss fight is just great. It fits the tone perfectly. So, we kill the giant Mandragora monster. Rita is understandably furious that we killed her friend, even if he mutated because the villagers pushed him over the edge. And before Guts and the gang can leave, a fancy carriage rolls up, clearly belonging to someone important, and then we hear his name. And I swear to you, this is real.
Everyone stand back. Baron Balzac is here for an inspection. Do not touch the body.
Yes, his name is Baron Balzac. And get your laughs out now, because the game uses that name in a completely serious context for the next several hours. Anyway, Baron Balzac invites Guts to his castle. Says he might be able to help Casca as a thanks for killing the Mandragora. Guts is hesitant at first, but eventually agrees, mostly because he really loves Casca. So the Baron takes us to his castle and tells Guts that he's about to show him something too dangerous for Casca and Puck to see. So Guts leaves them behind and puts Puck in charge of keeping Casca out of trouble. Why? Why would you put Puck in charge of anything? There is no universe where this is a good idea. Anyway, the Baron wants Guts to follow him alone, so he does. And this is where things start to get interesting. The Baron has an entire dungeon full of infected people, all Mandragora victims, so he can study them and try to find a cure. He keeps this space secret because if the townspeople found out he had a Mandragoran farm under his castle, they'd riot. He also shows off some of his research, and this is where we finally learn what the Mandragora actually is. And to put it simply, Mandragoras are basically plant zombies. When someone gets infected with the Mandragoran disease, they slowly turn into a Mandragoran creature. Plant zombies. But here's the twist. The infection also restores youth and heals all ailments and diseases. But it also turns you into a monster. And long story short, the Baron wants a Mandragoran heart, something found in a Mandragoran tree. With it, he believes he can create an elixir that cures the disease completely. And not just that, he claims it can cure even Casca. Guts senses something is off, but he takes the job anyway, because he loves Casca. And because this is Berserk, the moment he agrees, rebels attack the base. Rebels break into the castle, and because they breach the dungeon, all the Mandragoran victims escape too. So yeah, this next level we have to fight mostly a bunch of Mandragorans. And the music for this level is just, to put it bluntly, a really, really great fight song. Anyway, so after we beat the level, we find out that Casca was kidnapped. Because guess what? Puck couldn't do a damn thing when a group of rebels showed up and grabbed her. Great job, Puck. Truly the MVP of the team. Naturally, Guts wants to get her back, but doesn't really know where to look. So we head into the city, and remember that dog from earlier that was with the traveling performers? Turns out it tells Puck it knows where Casca is, and wants to lead Guts and Puck there. So the next level has us fighting through the city streets at night, while following this dog so we can get Casca back. And remember how earlier I talked about how the physics worked in this game? How you can't swing through walls? Well, this level is full of tight alleyways and walls. Meaning this is the first level where you have to A, position yourself correctly, and B, use the right swing direction. Because if you swing the wrong way, you'll hit a wall and stagger. Now generally this isn't that big of a problem, except for one thing. Enemies can get stuck in walls. And when they do, your only options are to go berserk, use throwing knives, or use your arm cannon. That's pretty much all you can do. Also, the music for this level is nowhere near as bombastic or fight ready as the last couple of levels. This is actually the first level to have a very almost ambient soundtrack to it. Here, take a listen. So, after fighting our way through the city, we finally reach the rebel base, and things almost get bloody immediately. Guts wants them to tell him where Casca is. They don't want to tell him where Casca is, meaning they're about 5 seconds away from becoming red spots on the floor. Luckily, the leader of the rebels, Dunteth, comes outside right before Guts redecorates the place with the rebels' internal organs. Turns out Rita told the rebels about Guts. For some reason, I'm not entirely sure, because I thought Rita hated him after he killed her friend. And, well, she does smack Guts the moment she sees him, so yeah, she's still pretty ticked off. So why did she tell the rebels who he was? No idea. It's a little confusing. But what matters is that Dunteth wants us to follow him. And this is one of those cutscenes where I think it's better just to let the cutscene speak for itself, because there is a lot, and I mean a lot, of exposition dumped here.
These ruins have been here for ages. Whenever war broke out, the townspeople always escaped here. Now it's become the hideaway for us, the Resistance. Did you see a strange room in Balzac's castle, where they keep the Mandragorans? A room like a jail.
Yes. He said they're researching a cure for Mandragorans.
That's a damn lie. Balzac. He wants to use the Mandragorans as his secret weapon. He says he's forcing them out of the towns and villages because they're dangerous and conducting human experiments in the name of research. But anyone who discovers the truth does not live long, like this young woman almost found out.
Well, why did you try to break into the castle?
We were trying to free our captured comrades. We just happened to see your companion and took her along, thinking she was a victim of his human experiments. To keep the Mandragorans a secret, Balzac forbids the townspeople from leaving this town. The same applies to people who come here. Once you enter the town, you can never leave. At least alive.
That's horrible.
We have lived on this land since ancient times. This town, being so close to the border, has been occupied by many nations and armies as a strategic base. Each time a new ruler takes over, it is we who suffer.
Balzac. Was he like that too?
Not at first. His enemies feared him like a monster, and he did not oppress us, his subjects. We thought he was an enlightened and kind ruler. Now, he's different. He's changed ever since the disease appeared. He's turned into a tyrant.
So, before we continue, I need to explain something important. The brand. The game barely explains it, but it's the core of Guts' entire story. So, to quickly summarize, Guts' former best friend Griffith betrayed him and sacrificed their entire mercenary group, the Band of the Hawk, during an event called the Eclipse. During the Eclipse, the God Hand, basically this world's demonic gods, appeared and the Hawks were slaughtered. Guts lost his arm and his eye trying to save Casca, the woman he loves. And let's just say something really, really bad happened to her during the eclipse. If you want the full context, read the manga. Because there is no way I am even implying what happened here on YouTube. I'm not risking a flag, an age restriction, or a demonetization of it. But be warned, it is absolutely not for the faint of heart. Guts and Casca survived, but only because one of the coolest characters in all of Berserk, Skull Knight, showed up and saved them. And Casca, well, the trauma shattered her mind. That's why she acts the way she does in this game. And because Guts and Casca were marked as sacrifices, they both received the brand, a mark that bleeds and throbs whenever demons or evil spirits are near. It literally attracts monsters to them every night. Holy Ground is the only place where the brand stops reacting, which is why Guts is constantly on the move and constantly fighting. So now that you know what the brand does, this next level is gonna make a lot more sense. Guts and the rebels pass through a burial site. The brand reacts, and undead monsters start crawling out of the ground. This level is short, but sweet. You fight skeletons, you go down a long staircase, where you must use vertical slashes. This is also where I discovered you can charge your horizontal slash for a spinning attack. It actually adds a little more depth to the combat, and I like it. Also, the music here is great. It's haunting and atmospheric, and perfect for fighting evil spirits. After the level, we get another really long cutscene, and honestly, the writing here is fantastic. And it's so complicated, I'm just gonna have to let the cutscene speak for itself. So just sit back. This is gonna be a long one.
Jeez, what the hell are those things?
Is Casca up ahead?
Yes, she's down below. This way. Where will you go now?
I made Balzac a promise. I'm going to Mandragora village to get the heart of a great tree.
What? Didn't I just tell you he is a ruthless tyrant? So why?
I need him. That thug knows something. If he has a drug that can cure her, I need to take the chance.
A cure?
In his castle. He runs a lab to create a cure. I need the drug that he's making.
But you have no proof he's telling the truth.
Dantef! If it is true, we might be able to save our boy. We need Balzac's research if we are going to bring him back to us, just as he says. Even if he is a devil, we need him.
That may well be true, but I just can't accept it. Damn it! How can we rely on one who oppresses us? This town of ours, its bricks are the bones of our ancestors. Its mortar, their blood and brains. Just think of that.
That's just plain silly.
What?
To let your fate be decided by all this talk of ancestors' blood. to let the past tie you down. The present belongs to the living, not the dead. Are you going to trade this child's future for the past?
Rita, that's just the way it is. People are bound by the spilled blood of ancestors.
That's wrong. People are individuals. They can be free, not bound by anything. They can go wherever the wind takes them.
You have no family, do you?
No.
Rita, you're still young. There will come a time when you'll shed blood for your own cause. I just hope that it's something worthy of that blood.
Rita? Rita?
Puck, I've always depended only on myself. No one else using my own strength or taming me. No one to love.
And Job, that Mandragoran guy was...
He followed me because I fed him. I was surprised at first, but he was really childlike. Always smiling, laughing, even though he didn't understand. I can't believe that now he's gone.
Forgive me, Rita.
Oh, wow, he apologized. I can't believe it. Oh!
No, it wasn't your fault. If you'd done nothing, he would have hurt that girl. It's me who should apologize. What I said earlier was horrible.
Bound by spilled blood, huh? You might be right about that, Rita. That's why you have to find something worth shedding blood for. A cause. And even a person.
Getsu.
Done talking, folks. I have made my decision. I am going with you to the great tree to get its heart. Then we will negotiate with Balzac. We will tell him if he wants the heart, he has to give us the medicine.
Do as you like.
I will take your companion to where she will be safe.
Wait. I don't trust you completely yet. Besides, I'm the only one that can take care of her. The only one that can protect her.
But
Listen here, worried about creatures attacking her? If that's it, you have no worries, big man.
Huh?
Elves live in this spring. I'm certain of it.
It's the source of the town's water. Our ancestors built a shrine here. They prayed to the spirits.
Well, I can't vouch for the rest of the rooms, but this one's quite safe. No evil spirits will come here.
and anyway, while you're gone, me and Casca, there's nothing to worry about. I'll look after her.
I see. Okay. Thanks for this. Keep this troublemaker with you, too.
Whoa! Hey, is that how you treat your best buddy?
Mm-hmm. I'm off.
Hoo boy! Man, this game really is written like a Berserk manga. And I love it for it. There's a lot of moral conflict here. Balzac is a tyrant, but he might have a cure that can save Dunteth's child and Casca. Helping him means helping the villain, but not helping him means letting people suffer. There's also a great moment about not being bound to your ancestors or your past, which is something I'll talk about later, because it hit me very personally. And of course, Guts and Puck's dynamic continues to be hilarious. You can tell Guts cares about him, but Puck gets on his nerves every 5 seconds. And as soon as Guts leaves, Balzac's men invade the base and kidnap Casca, Rita, and Puck, literally 5 seconds after he walked out the door. Meanwhile, Guts and the rebels head towards the Mandragoran village, fighting monsters along the way. And this level is great. Big open areas, foggy woods, and no annoying walls to bounce your sword off of. Whether the fog is atmospheric or just hiding the Dreamcast's draw distance, I don't know, but either way it works. And the enemies are cool, the atmosphere is great, and yes, there are QuickTime events on a Dreamcast game. And if you fail them, you don't always die. Sometimes, you just get sent to a different part of the level. Like when I failed the bridge QTE, instead of falling to my death, Guts just landed somewhere else and kept going. Honestly, that's really good game design. And the music here is more ambient, but it fits the mood pretty well. It's not the best track in the game, in my opinion, but the gameplay more than makes up for it in this level. So, after we complete the level, we finally make it to the Mandragoran village. And at first, everything seems fine. The Mandragorans don't even seem to notice us. All is peaceful. Until some random idiot decides to yank a Mandragoran plant out of the ground. And that's when everything goes wrong. The Mandragorans freak out, attack the remaining rebels, and Guts ends up fighting a swarm of them. Eventually, a nun comes outside, puts the plant back in the ground, and the Mandragorans calm down instantly. Turns out this nun lives with the Mandragorans. Balzac had mentioned her earlier in the story, and long story short, she thinks they're peaceful, childlike, and living a better life than humans. But before I show you the Mandragoran backstory, I need to explain another piece of Berserk lore: the bailiffs. A bailiff is basically a demonic charm that activates when someone reaches their absolute lowest point. It summons the God Hand, and if the person sacrifices what they love most, they become an apostle, a very powerful demon. Apostles are the main monsters Guts fights throughout the series. And with that out of the way, I can talk about the next part of the story. So while Guts is talking to this nun, Rita shows up and explains that Casca was captured by Balzac. And if Guts wants her back, you're gonna have to bring the Mandragoran heart. And Guts basically demands the nun tell him where the tree is. And instead, the nun tells him a story about Nico.
If you want her back, you have to bring the heart.
Bastard! Okay, sister. You heard her. Where's the tree? Hey!
There used to be a boy named Nico in this village. He was simple-minded, and he sometimes disturbed the crops. But he was a good boy at heart, gentle. He would never hurt another person. Even when the villagers teased him, threw stones at him, or beat him with sticks, Nico was just happy for the gift of life. He marveled at a sunny sky, and no matter what his misfortune, he was always smiling. But one winter day, Nico was on the brink of death from hunger. The crops had failed that year. Not a single person would give him any food. With the last of his strength, Nico managed to crawl to the church. But I didn't even notice him. The sound of the door opening was drowned out by the New Year's bell. When I found him, he was... He never did a thing wrong. He was just a little different from the others. Why was he treated so cruelly, so callously? Why did Nico have to die?
So yeah, it seems either Nico or the nun used a bailiff to create the Mandragorans. Personally, I'm leaning more towards the nun, and you'll see why later. She believes the Mandragorans live a better life than humans. She says they're simple, peaceful, and always happy, and free from human greed and suffering. Unless you rip up their plants. Then, yeah, they're coming to kill you. And to the nun's argument, I say, screw the Mandragorans, and screw that logic. I don't care if they're peaceful. I don't care if they're always happy. If Mandragorans existed on our Earth, I'd happily burn every last one of them to the ground. Why? Because they violate free will. So what if humans can be violent or greedy? That's what makes emotions like love, compassion, and kindness meaningful. The fact that we can be bad is what makes us choosing to be good valuable. What is this, the Garden of Eden? No thanks. I personally would eat that fruit 10 times over. Thank you very much. Each individual has the right to free will, and anything that tries to violate that needs to be obliterated. So yeah, I very much agree with Guts here.
If they look different, and their hearts are different, then they are not human. It's true. Humans are greedy and vicious.
So then you agree with me?
No, sorry. You see, I'm a human. I don't mind spilling blood to get what I want. Sorry if that shocks you and ruins your plans, but I'm taking the heart of the great tree with me. Just quietly hand it over. Don't try anything, sister.
Guts? Oh.
Exactly. Let's grab the heart and burn the village to the ground on our way out, before the Mandragorans can infect anyone else. Am I sounding anti-Mandragoran? Good, because I am. Of course the nun refuses to hand over the heart, so she runs into the church and we go after her, and find a hidden passage beneath the altar. But before we talk about the next level, let's see what Casca and Puck are up to.
You think you've managed to kidnap Casca, but you forgot about little old me. Puck to the rescue! That old guy. I knew we could never trust him. I told you I'm not a toy. Anyway, we better get out of here soon. If those guards find me in here, we'll both be killed. Huh? Oh no! Oh, something very bad? Whoa!
Swordsman's woman. Then he must be nearby. Interesting. Something else fun to do. I'll lead you later, little girl.
That was close. But what was that all about? What was he doing here? Zod is real trouble. Look, Casca. Our lucky break.
What's that noise there?
Let's get out of here, Casca, or they'll find us. So how do we get out of here? If we don't meet up with Guts soon. But this is right where we were before. It's horrible. Look at these experiments.
They're here! Over here, man!
Uh-oh, trouble.
Are they here? No, check over there.
Whew, that was close. Huh? That girl. This is Balzac's wife, right? And this must be his daughter. She looks just like her mother. But how could such a scary dad have such a sweet daughter? I guess the apple fell far from that tree, or she was just plain lucky. Oh no, they're here! What do we do? Oh, oh. Look, a hidden door. Casca, we're going now. Come on, come on. Huh? What's this room? What the heck? How creepy is that? Hey, hang on! Oh, Casca, don't touch!
What are you doing there? You! Leave that heart alone! It's mine! We have to get out of here. Quick, get a net to safety! Hurry!
Okay, I have to talk about a few things from this cutscene, because there's a lot going on here. First, Balzac has a daughter, and she appears to be in the same mental state as Casca. That actually explains why he's so desperate to find a cure. What I don't understand is why he needed Casca as a hostage when he already made a deal with Guts. Like, dude, you already have his cooperation. Why escalate the situation? But whatever, Berserk villains are gonna be Berserk villains. The next thing that stood out to me is Casca's reaction to the weird demon thing in the jar. Her first instinct is to pick it up and cradle it. Now, this is my interpretation, but it really feels like Casca misses her and Guts' child. So, to simplify this for YouTube, yeah, Casca and Guts had a baby. But because of what Griffith, aka Femto, did during the eclipse, the child was born different. Very different. And that's all I'm going to say, because the full story is way too dark for YouTube. But the important part is, even in her broken mental state, Casca still has a strong maternal instinct, which just makes the story that much sadder. The next level isn't too hard, but there are some narrow corridors, and I really hate the basement area where the Mandragoran plants fly down at you. It's annoying, but manageable. And the music here is this dark ambient track. Not high energy at all, but it fits the creepy vibe perfectly. Then we reach the boss. And surprise! The nun is a Mandragoran too. And what looks like Nico's body is actually the heart of the tree. The fight starts with a QTE, and unlike most QTEs in this game, if you fail this one, you die instantly. So you must nail it. After that, the fight isn't too complicated. Hit the plant heads on the left and right, and then after you take them down, attack the heart in the center. The only annoying part of the fight is this one attack where the boss screams and it looks like the entire screen is trying to give you a seizure. I have no idea how to dodge it. It doesn't do much damage, but it's obnoxious. So yeah, kill it fast before it does that. Also, the music for this fight is great. It's this very dark orchestral piece, and I just love it. I think the music in this boss fight is amazing. After we beat the Mandragoran tree monster, it turns out the nun is still alive, even after Guts hit her with the Dragon Slayer at the start of the fight. she grabs Nico's body, the heart of the Mandragoran tree, and runs outside. And when we get out there, yeah, Balzac's men have followed us and burned the entire village to the ground. Seeing her home thoroughly destroyed, the nun decides she would rather die with the Mandragoran heart than hand it over to Guts or Balzac's soldiers. So she runs into the burning church and throws herself into the fire. Yeah, this sure is a Berserk story, alright. She also drops a Balet, which I'm assuming she used to become an apostle. And Rita picks it up. And Guts, buddy, are you seeing this? You might want to do something about that. And things get worse fast. Balzac's men surround Guts and basically threaten Casca if he tries anything. Luckily, Guts doesn't have to try anything, because Zod tries something. Zod shows up out of nowhere, scares everyone off instantly, except for Guts and Rita, and the game gives a very vague explanation as to why he's here. It boils down to, oh yeah, my master Griffith is returning to this world soon. So, I want to fight you, Guts, before that happens. And Guts is like, sure, why not? That's literally the best I can make of his reasoning as to why he's here. So yeah, it's Zod boss fight time. Look, this fight could have been removed from the story entirely, and nothing major would have changed. But this is a Berserk game from the late 90s. Of course they threw Zod in. The devs knew that it was going to be primarily Berserk fans that were going to buy and play this game. So they gave us some fan service. And let me tell you, this fight is hard. Like, really, really, really hard. My first time, I spent over an hour on this boss. And yes, I had to beat him twice. I'll explain why later. On my second run, I beat him in about 10 minutes, by the way. But only because I had his entire moveset memorized. So you actually have to pay very close attention in this fight to everything. His movement, his attack patterns, as well as your spacing and timing. All of it. Here's a hint I can give you real quick about the fight. Do not use vertical slashes unless you're in Berserk mode. Why? Because the horizontal slash has a 3-hit combo. And the third hit staggers Zod. That stagger is your lifeline. It gives you a chance to dodge his follow-up attacks. If you use vertical slashes, yeah, you'll hit him faster, but Zod can just grab you or interrupt your combo and slam you into the dirt. But in Berserk mode, you're invincible. And the vertical slash is so fast that it actually is very useful here. You can do a ton of damage with the vertical slash in Berserk mode. You also need to use your items properly. Your arm cannon is amazing here. And you need to know when to use the arm cannon for it to be effective, as well as when to heal, so you can maximize your time in this fight. You also gotta know when Zod is open for a combo, because if you just start swinging horizontally at the wrong time, Zod will just smack you right out of it. Seriously, this fight demands near perfect mastery. The music for this fight is also incredible. And if you want to make the fight even better, just listen to Zod the Immortal by Beast in Black while fighting him. Trust me, it fits perfectly. Honestly, if they ever make another Berserk game, they need Beast in Black on the soundtrack. It would be insane. Anyway, after you beat Zod, he basically says, "That was a good fight, Guts. But we'll finish this later, because we both have better things to do. Go rescue your woman." And he flies off. And all the villagers who were infected by the Mandragora start turning back to normal. Their saplings fall off and they regain their senses. And they look around to see their village burned to the ground and their loved ones chopped to pieces. And guess who's standing in the middle of town covered in blood? Yeah, Guts. They start throwing rocks at him, and honestly, they're not entirely wrong. But to be fair, the Mandragorans were trying to kill him. Some of those people were killed by Balzac's men. So, yeah. But Guts doesn't even try to defend himself. He just walks away as the whole town is throwing rocks at him. Like he couldn't care less. So, we make it back to town, and the place is in absolute chaos. I'll let Puck explain what the heck happened here.
It's Casca! It's Casca!
What is it?
Look! She's caught in the Mandragora!
No!
And the Mandragorans in the castle are going crazy, and Balzac's sending out the troops, and he's sending Mandragoran troops from the lab, too! And townspeople are being possessed by flowers, and rampaging is all so confusing!
Casca.
So yeah, time for the next level. And this is actually the longest level in the entire game. No joke, there are barely any cutscenes in this mission. There's a few quick time events here and there, but the rest is pure gameplay. It's also one of the hardest levels in the game because of how many enemies swarm at you at once. I also gotta give the game some credit for the atmosphere, the music, and the environment. Literally everything about this level screams, things have gotten completely out of hand. Just listen to the music for yourself. Eventually, we make it into the castle, where we find the Baron's daughter just wandering around. And for some reason, the characters are like, yeah, let's bring her with us. Why? No idea. But now she's tagging along with us as well. And the castle level itself is pretty cool, especially the Baron's lab. But the corridors are extremely tight and the enemies are aggressive. And the labs are so cramped that the only reliable way to fight is to go berserk or use items. Granted, there are plenty of sections in the castle that are wider spaces, but the tight corridors are a nightmare. And the music fits pretty good in this level. we eventually reach Balzac's throne room, and Rita immediately asks him why he went from beloved ruler to completely insane tyrant. Then Balzac explains his past. You see, he used to believe he could carry any burden, fight any battle, protect his people, and save his sickly wife. But over time, the pressure of the responsibility crushed him, and he snapped. And the only thing that brings him joy now is bathing in the blood of his enemies. So yeah, he's kind of gone off the deep end. And here's the big twist. The girl we've been calling his daughter, that's not his daughter. That's his wife, Annette. You see, he created a drug from the Mandragoran plant to cure her illness. And it worked. It cured all her sickness and made her young again. But it also reduced her mind to that of a child. Balzac kept her alive because he loved her, but she didn't remember him. She didn't even know him or recognize him at all. Sound familiar? Yeah, Balzac and Guts have a few things in common. But the main difference is that Balzac has completely lost his humanity, while Guts still kind of has that. After Balzac's speech, he's had enough of all this, takes some of the drug he gave to his wife, and transforms into a Mandragoran monster. And this boss isn't as hard as Zod, not even close. But he's fast, like really fast. He zips around the arena like a caffeinated hummingbird. And vertical slashes are your best friend in this fight, because horizontal slashes are too slow. The fight isn't easy, but I did beat him on my second try. And the music? The music is pretty daggum good. After beating Baron Balzac, we leave his wife Annette in the room with him for some reason. Oh, and the bayonet Rita picked up earlier? Yeah, it falls off her belt in the room as they're leaving. I'm sure that's not going to be important later. And the gang head off to rescue Casca, who's trapped inside the new Mandragoran tree. Then we reach this hallway. Oh dear lord, I hate this section. You have to run through a narrow corridor while vines destroy the path behind you. And if they touch you, even once, it's instant death. And then a quarter of the way in, more vines appear that are more like tendrils. And these ones don't kill you instantly, but they knock you back into the instant death vines, so they might as well kill you. And you have to do this entire hallway perfectly. One mistake equals death. But eventually, we make it through and find, yeah, Casca is trapped inside a giant Mandragoran fetus tree thing. And this whole boss fight is bizarre. It's not hard, but it's slow. You don't get a whole lot of openings to hit this thing, And the attacks it throws out aren't exactly hard to dodge, nor are they very damaging. But man, with the opportunities to hit it so spaced out, this fight just drags and drags and drags. And yes, it has that stupid scream attack from the earlier tree boss. Still no way to dodge it, so it's still very annoying. And the music for this boss is haunting. Not bombastic, not energetic, just eerie and demonic. Very fitting. And after we kill the thing, it drops Casca, and for a split second, she actually regains her sanity. No joke.
Hang in there, my love.
Gatsu?
Casca. You know who I am.
Gatsu. My dear, I was dreaming. A really bad dream.
Casca.
Good.
Casca. Casca. Casca.
This emotional, franchise-defining moment happens at the end of a Dreamcast game. Almost nobody played. But it doesn't last. The effect fades, and she slips back into her broken state. But we're not done yet, because Balzac is still alive. And Balzac got his hands on the Bailet. And can you take a wild guess on what he did? Yup, he sacrificed his wife and became an apostle. Now we fight him again in his bizarre, trippy, acid dream boss arena. And his apostle form design, it's very Berserk, but also very, what in the ever-loving hell am I looking at? Shockingly, he's one of the easiest bosses in the entire game. He barely moves, his attacks are easy to dodge, and he doesn't have much health. And the music here is, well, it's more horror movie soundtrack than Final Boss, which isn't my preference for my final battles, but it fits Berserk, so I'll give it a pass. And with that, the Mandragorans are gone, and Balzac is dead, and Guts has absolutely no reason to stick around here any longer. So he and the gang say goodbye to Rita. She promises the gang that she'll always remember them, and the credits roll. And honestly, this was a pretty good story. It was very Berserk. You could drop this into the manga with minimal changes, and it would fit perfectly as its own arc. However, the cutscene, the gameplay ratio, is kind of insane. This game is about 60 to 70% cutscenes. The first few missions are super short, like 10 minutes of gameplay at the most, followed by 15 to 17 minute cutscenes. So if you're someone who's here primarily for the gameplay and not the story, this is not the game for you. And the Metal Gear fans are probably laughing their asses off in the comments, being like, "You think Sword of the Berserk is bad? Those are rookie numbers!" But this is easily one of the most cutscene heavy games I personally have ever played. But I enjoyed it because I like Berserk. And the gameplay that's here is also pretty good. And by the way, this game also has a post-credit scene showing off one of my favorite Berserk characters. So yeah, if you needed any more clarification that this game was made by Berserk fans, look no further than that cutscene. And for anyone who doesn't know who Skull Knight is, he, in my opinion, is one of the best characters in the entire series, and I'll summarize him briefly for those who don't know. He's an ancient warrior whose soul is bound to his armor. He hunts apostles and the God Hand. And yes, he eats bailiffs. Literally. Because they give him power and remove them from the world so fewer apostles can be created. And he has a, let's say, tragic history with the God Hand. And if you want to know more about that, I'll let you read the manga. But seriously, look at him. He looks awesome. And Beast in Black even made a song about him called "To the Last Drop of Blood," and it absolutely slaps. And let's talk about the gameplay a little more, because I mentioned some things earlier in the video, but I really wanted to talk about it some more and go into more detail about it. Now, I know a lot of people complain that the sword bounces off walls. Like, Devil May Cry didn't do that, so why does this game do it? Well, because this game came out before Devil May Cry. And this isn't Devil May Cry. This is Berserk. And honestly, even though it can be annoying at times, I think the wall collision makes the game more immersive. Guts isn't swinging a katana. He's swinging a 6-foot-long slab of iron. Of course he's going to hit walls in tight spaces. And it forces you to think about spacing, positioning, and timing. And Guts isn't a mindless fighter like a lot of people seem to think he is. He really is a tactical fighter, most of the time. And the game makes you fight like him. And let's talk more about the items and the special abilities. And you have a limited number of healing items, bombs, and the arm cannon shots. So you can't spam them constantly, even though using the arm cannon in this game is awesome. Like, just seriously, this is badass. Like the sound effect, the recoil animation, it all is just awesome and I love using this weapon. The bombs aren't as useful, but they're there if you want to throw some bombs out. And the healing items are very useful. You only get a limited amount of them, but using your healing item gives you full health. So trying to figure out when to use it to maximize your time in a fight is crucial. And you can get more items in two ways. You can get a little bit of restocks after each level, as most of the time when you complete a level, you'll get at least one of every item that you've used. Or you can occasionally find items in crates if you explore around a little bit. This encourages smart play and exploration. But if there is one thing this game could have used, that is an upgrade system. Something like upgrading the Dragon Slayer, increasing the Berserk mode duration, carrying more items, or unlocking new moves. Most hack and slash games have this, and it would have fit perfectly here. But I guess the upside to not having an upgrade system is that the game stays simple. So you can pick it up and play pretty easily. And there are actually some more moves I didn't mention earlier. Like, probably the coolest one is the fact that if you sheath your sword, you can use hand-to-hand combat. But your horizontal attack becomes Guts' arm crossbow. Yeah, you can actually use Guts' crossbow in this game. Is it useful? Not really, but it's cool, and it has unlimited ammo, and it's straight from the manga, so yeah, I think that's pretty neat. Another thing about the gameplay is the enemy variety. You see, there's not a whole lot of levels in the game, and the game is pretty short. On your first playthrough, the game will probably take you 3 to 4 hours, but the upside to this is the fact that the enemy variety is pretty much always fresh. Like every level or two, it seems like you're fighting a new enemy type, all the way up to the end of the game, which I find to be pretty cool, and it keeps the gameplay fresh. But seriously, fuck these crossbow soldiers. You fight them a lot near the end of the game, and a little bit in one of the city levels. And they are annoying as hell, because they run away from you and will shoot you from a distance with their crossbow. So you gotta catch up to them and try to hit them. And they're the enemies that most often like to hang out around walls, meaning they can be very hard to take down at times, and they're easily the most annoying enemy in the entire game. But anyway, overall the gameplay is a lot of fun, satisfying, and surprisingly deep for a 1999 Dreamcast game. It's not perfect, but I feel that it captures the feeling of Berserk. And I really wish there was a sequel, because there's a lot that could be improved with this gameplay. Alright, so next let's talk about the game's side content. Whenever you beat the game on a particular difficulty, easy, normal, or hard, you unlock a special bonus. Now, full honesty here, I never beat the game on hard, and trying to find information about this game online is like trying to find a bailiff in real life. It's nearly impossible. Some sources say hard unlocks no limit mode, which basically gives you unlimited ammo. Others say it unlocks very hard plus mode and some photos. If anyone here watching actually knows what beating the game on hard gets you, please drop it in the comments down below, because I'm genuinely curious. I personally beat the game twice for this video. Once on normal, then immediately again on easy, because I enjoyed the game that much. But I wasn't about to do a third run back to back. If you beat the game on easy, you unlock Puck's Game. It's a little mini game where you hang out inside Puck's bag and smash Mandragoran saplings that try to invade. It's fine, nothing crazy, but not bad either. When you beat the game on normal, you get the Battle Arena, and this lets you replay any boss you want, plus fight in a couple of different special arenas. And if you like the combat in this game, like I do, then this is a great way to jump straight into the action without replaying the whole story. And then we can talk about the glossary. And this is where the game tries to teach you about the world of Berserk. And oh boy, it's not terrible, but it's definitely incomplete. If you're a newcomer, this glossary is not going to bring you up to speed. You basically need to have read the manga to understand what's going on in the game. And this glossary doesn't replace the manga in the slightest. You're probably still going to be just as confused as you were before playing the game if you haven't read the manga. Am I saying read the manga a lot? I mean it. Seriously, read the manga even if you don't plan on playing this game. It's really good. But the funniest part about this glossary is the inconsistencies. First, there's Guts' name. In the game, he's called Gatsu. But in the glossary, they actually spell the name right and call him Guts. Like, what is the deal with this? Pick a lane, guys! And the one that had me rolling on the floor laughing was Zod's name. Just look at this. Look at this spelling. How do you misspell the word Zod so badly? It looks like someone sneezed while trying to type Zod in on a keyboard. If you're already a Berserk fan, this glossary is hilarious and is definitely worth reading just for the laughs. But if this is your first Berserk experience, yeah, this glossary sucks. And one of the themes in this story that hit me personally is the idea that you're not bound by the blood of your ancestors. And the way I see it, this theme has two sides. Just because your ancestors valued something, a certain land, a culture, or a way of life, doesn't mean you have to. That was their choice, not yours. Modernization exists for a reason. Sometimes the new way is better. Sometimes the old ways still have value. It's not about loyalty to the past, it's about choosing what actually works for you. Think of it like game consoles. The Xbox 360 is obviously the more powerful console, and is way stronger than the original Xbox. So of course, most people would want the newer hardware. But if a new console removes a feature you actually care about, like physical media for instance, then the older system might be the better choice. Same with games. Ocarina of Time is a masterpiece on the Nintendo 64, and one of my favorite video games of all time. But that doesn't make A Link to the Past bad because it was on the SNES. Sometimes the old ways still have something special. And the second one is, you're not obligated to live the life your parents wanted you to. This theme hits home for me especially because I've dealt with this personally. My dad isn't a huge fan of the fact that I make video games, and the full story is pretty complicated and way more nuanced than this, but the short version and the simplified version is, he thinks the industry is unstable, that AI is going to take it over, and big companies will just crush me, and that I should just run the family property instead. And look, I respect the sacrifices he made to get the family the property that we have, and I'm grateful for what he built. But his choices aren't my destiny. Just because your father built something doesn't mean you're required to take it over. And if I ever have kids, I'm not going to force them to take over my empire either. If my daughters want to be actors in Hollywood, so be it. If my sons want to be bar bouncers, cool. As long as they're happy, healthy, and safe, that's what matters. The purpose of being a parent is to guide your kids. You warn them about dangers, and you help them avoid permanent mistakes. But you don't live their lives for them. That's why when the game touches on this idea that you're not bound by the blood of your ancestors, that's why it hit me personally. Because that's something I've had to learn in my own life. Now let's talk about the music. Because honestly, this game's entire soundtrack is really good. Even when the track doesn't perfectly fit the level it's in, the music itself is still pretty good. Sometimes it's not exactly what I prefer during a demon-slaying rampage, but as standalone music, it's all fantastic. And judging by the YouTube comments I saw while getting the music for this video, a lot of people listen to this soundtrack while reading the Berserk manga. And I tried doing that, and yeah, I can totally see why. But the true tracks I really want to focus on are the vocal songs. Forces 2 and Indra. These are emotional heavy hitters on the soundtrack. I had heard Forces 2 before I played the game, and the song plays quite a bit throughout the game. First, the full vocal version plays in the opening cutscene, as well as the ending cutscene, and over part of the credits. And the instrumental version is used in certain cutscenes. But I had never heard of Indra until I watched the credits. And honestly, it's a real shame it took me so long to hear this song, because Indra is a fantastic song. Now, both tracks are sung in Japanese, but getting the translations wasn't too hard. So now I want to break down the lyrics and talk about what they mean, because yeah, these two songs are actually pretty interesting when you understand the context of the lyrics. So let's start with Forces 2. Oh, wordless blowing wind, burn everything into nothingness. This line is about destruction without mercy. the kind of destruction that Guts walks through every day. The wind is symbolic of fate, chaos, war, and the world's cruelty. The idea that the world doesn't care. It destroys without speaking, without explanation, and without apologizing. Let dying voices greet the night in its physical form. Night equal darkness, darkness equal despair, despair equal the eclipse. This line is about how suffering doesn't fade quietly. It echoes. The dying voices are the people Guts couldn't save, the comrades he lost, the screams burned into his memory. The night in its physical form is literally the darkness of Berserk's world. Apostles, demons, the God Hand. It's saying the darkness is real and it hears you. The next line, deep within the silent haze, your voice will reach me. This is the first hopeful line. It's about connection through trauma. Even when the world is silent, even when everything is foggy and unclear, there's still a voice that reaches Guts. The memory of his comrades, the will to survive, and the desire to protect Casca. The spark inside of him that refuses to die. This is the force that keeps him moving. Then we get the line, "Oh, blazing corpses, rise against your wills." This line is brutal, but it's very Berserk. It's about the dead who can't rest, the band of the Hawk, the victims of the Apostles, the people consumed by war, and even the Mandragorans in this game. They rise up not because they want to, but because the world forces them to. It's a metaphor for trauma. The past keeps coming back, whether you want it to or not. Then we get the lines, "There's no road, and yet a mighty voice presses me on." This is Guts' entire life in one sentence. There is no path laid out for him. No destiny, no guidance, no safety. But he keeps going because his will pushes him, his memories push him, his rage pushes him, and his love for Casca pushes him. His desire to defy fate pushes him. This is the forces the song is named after. Then we get the lines, "Can you see them? Deep within you, the forces in your heart." This is the thesis of the entire song. It's saying, you have something inside you that refuses to die. Listen to it, follow it, let it guide you through the darkness. For Guts, that force is his will to survive, his refusal to bow to fate, his love for Casca, his absolute hatred for the God Hand and Griffith, and his stubborn, unbreakable spirit. Hi-yi forces. This chant isn't meant to be literal words. It's a battle cry, a marta, the sound of willpower being summoned. It represents Guts' inner strength, the voices of the fallen, the will to keep moving, and the forces inside of him that refuses to die. Then the line, I am lifted up in the arms of the mighty knight and told to live on. This line is pretty huge. The mighty knight represents darkness, trauma, fate, and the eclipse, and the world that tried to destroy him. But instead of crushing him, the darkness pushes him forward. He survives because the darkness itself challenges him to keep living. It's not comfort, it's not hope, it's pure defiance. Then the lines, there is no road, yet time reaches me unceasing, weighs upon me heavily. This is one of the most Berserk lines ever written. It means Guts has no destiny, no path laid out before him, no guidance, no future promised, but time keeps moving anyway. He can't stop, he can't rest, he can't go back. Every second is a burden, but he carries it. He's just surviving one day at a time. Then we get the lines, seek them, the ancient forces of darkness deep down within you. This is one of the most important lines in the entire second half. It's saying, your strength doesn't come from the light. It comes from the darkness you've survived. For Guts, the ancient forces of darkness are his trauma, his rage, his grief, his memories, and his will to defy fate, as well as the fire inside of him that refuses to die. This isn't about embracing evil. It's about embracing his strength that he has forged in suffering. Guts doesn't get stronger by ignoring his pain. He gets stronger by facing it. This is why the song is called Forces. It's about the internal forces inside of you that push you forward when everything else collapses. Now let's talk about the other vocal song in the game, Indra, which plays after Forces in the credits. And this song is way more poetic and abstract than Forces 2. It pulls from Buddhist concepts, Chinese mythology, and symbolic imagery. So you really have to dig deep to understand what it's saying. Here's the first section of the song and what it actually means. Long ago, in the distant past, they fell into decay. The philosopher's path, the river of glory. This is talking about civilizations, ideas, and philosophies that once thrived, but eventually collapsed. Think ancient kingdoms, lost wisdom, forgotten glory, ideas that couldn't survive reality. In Berserk terms, this mirrors the fall of Midland, the fall of the Gisgrisk Empire, the fall of the Band of the Hawk, the fall of Balzac's rule, and the fall of pretty much any golden age. Everything decays and everything collapses. Nothing stays pure forever. Then the lines, even the saints resting in the darkness, rise up without response and block the way. This is actually some pretty powerful imagery here. Saints resting in the darkness. This is talking about the dead, the forgotten, the ones who once stood for something. But now they rise up not to help, but to block the path forward. This symbolizes the past haunting the present, trauma resurfacing, old sins returning, and the dead refusing to stay buried. History repeats itself after all, and even the good of the past can become an obstacle when corrupted. Then we get the lines, "Can you hear it? The silent voice that calls you." This is the same idea as Forces 2. The silent voice is the voice of fate, the voice of trauma, and the voice of memory, as well as the voice of the past. And most importantly, the voice inside you that refuses to die. It's not loud, it's not comforting, it's a whisper, but one you can't ignore. For Guts, this voice is the memory of the Hawks, his desire to protect Casca, the will to keep moving, and the rage that fuels him, as well as the pain that shapes him. Then the lines, "Can you follow after it, grasping at the straws of ignorance?" This is where the Buddhist concepts come in. Straws of ignorance, or avalidia, whatever the hell this word is. It means spiritual blindness, not understanding the true nature of reality. The line is asking, can you keep moving forward even when you don't understand the path? Even when you're blind? Even when you're lost? This is Guts' entire journey in a nutshell. He doesn't know where he's going. He doesn't know how to cure Casca. He doesn't know what the future holds. And he doesn't know how to fight fate. He's walking blind, guided only by instinct and will. He's literally grasping at straws, but he keeps going anyway. The lines, "Rage, O Indra, with anger hot enough to burn boulders." Indra is a Hindu storm god. Thunder, lightning, destruction, and righteous fury is his trademarks. So this line is basically saying, unleash a divine, unstoppable rage. This isn't petty anger. This is cosmic anger, the kind that reshapes the world. In Berserk terms, this is Guts' rage. The rage that keeps him alive. The rage that pushes him forward. The rage that burns through trauma. And the rage that refuses to bow to fate. It's not evil, it's survival. Then we get the lines, "Embrace the child of darkness, who swings his sword in the nothingness." This line is talking about Guts, straight up. The child of darkness is someone born into suffering, raised in violence, and shaped by trauma. And he who swings his sword in nothingness is talking about Guts fighting. The fate, the void, the darkness, the God hand, and the world that abandoned him. He fights even when the battle seems meaningless, even when the enemy is intangible, and even when the future is empty. This is the core of Guts' character. Then we get the lines, "They remain hidden away, unseen even in dreams." The golden flowers, the songs of Cinderella. Cinderella, I think I said that right. This is where the song gets poetic. Golden flowers in Cinderella represent peace, paradise, and innocence. A life without suffering, a world untouched by darkness. And the song is saying that Guts can't even see these things in his dreams. Guts can't dream of peace. He can't imagine a safe future. He can't picture a world without violence. Even his sleep is filled with nightmares. Shangri-La, paradise, is something forever out of reach. Then we get the lines, "You are denied even a night of prayer." And this line, it hits hard. It means no rest, no peace, no comfort, no chance to heal, no moment to breathe. Guts can't pray. He can't sleep. He can't stop. He can't even hope. Even one night of peace is denied to him. Then we get the lines, "The rapids of time thrust you ever onward." This is the final punch of this section. Time is a river, fast, violent, and unstoppable. And Guts is being dragged forward whether he wants to move or not. This line means he can't go back, he can't stop, he can't freeze time, he can only move forward. The world pushes you forward whether you're ready or not, and this is Guts' life. No path, no destiny, no rest, just forward motion, surviving one day at a time. It's tragic, but it's also powerful. The lines, "Can you hear it? The silent voice calling you." This line continues the theme from earlier, but what comes after is unique. "Can you cross over it, drinking the water of this impure river?" This line seems to confuse a lot of people online, but once you understand the symbolism behind it, it becomes one of the more powerful images in the song. The impure river is the world of suffering. In Buddhist imagery, an impure river represents samsaram, the cycle of suffering, the world of pain, the corruption of reality, the filth of violence and trauma, and to drink from the water means to accept that suffering is part of your life. You take it into yourself to survive it. And crossing over it means moving forward despite suffering. This line is asking, can you keep going even when the world is corrupted? Even when the path is painful? Even when the water you drink, the life you live, is tainted by suffering? This is basically Guts' entire existence. He doesn't get clean water. He doesn't get a pure life. He doesn't get peace. He survives by drinking the impure river, the trauma, the violence, the darkness, and still moving forward. Then the lines, "Protect him, O Indra, this ignorant child." This is the first time in the entire song the narrator asks for mercy. Indra, the storm god, is being asked to protect someone who is blind to the future, blind to fate, and blind to the nature of the world, and stumbling forward without understanding. That ignorant child is Guts. Not ignorant in the sense of being stupid, but ignorant in the Buddhist sense of avalya, not knowing the truth of the world, walking blindly through suffering. Guts doesn't know where his journey leads. He doesn't know how to save Casca. He doesn't know how to fight fate. He doesn't even know what tomorrow brings. He is a child of darkness, walking forward without guidance. This line is basically saying, even if he doesn't understand the path, protect him anyway. And then the lines, "And for a brief moment, purge these roads of rage." This is the climax of the song. The song is asking the storm god to clear the path, remove the violence, and silence the chaos, and give Guts a moment of peace. Just one moment, not a lifetime, not salvation, not a paradise, just a brief pause in the endless suffering. This line is pretty heartbreaking in the context of Berserk, because it acknowledges that Guts may never have a peaceful life. The world may never stop trying to kill him. Rage and violence may always be what he knows. But maybe, just maybe, he can have a moment of rest. This final plea to purge these roads of rage is the emotional core of the song. It's a wish that Guts could even have a single night without fighting. Before I wrap up the video, I need to talk about something I completely forgot about earlier. The continue system in this game. It sucks. You actually have a limited amount of continues in the game, and if you run out, oh boy. When I died on normal near the end of the game, literally the last level before the final boss, I had run out of continues playing through the game. So I figured I'd restart at the beginning of the level, or at least at the last checkpoint if the game was really good about its checkpoint system. But nope, the game sent me all the way back to right before the Zod fight. So yeah, that's why I had to fight Zod twice. Thankfully, by that point, I had his patterns memorized and beat him in about 10 minutes. But still, this continue system is rough. And with that, I think I've said everything I need to say about this game. Sword of the Berserk Guts' Rage is a very fun game. It's not a perfect game, but it's stylish, atmospheric, and faithful to the manga. And honestly, way better than a 1999 Dreamcast tie-in game has any right to be. If you're a Berserk fan at all, I highly recommend playing this game. It's a great little side story, and it captures the tone of the Berserk manga shockingly well. And if you're not a Berserk fan, I can't really recommend it. This game already assumes you know the world, the characters, and the lore. And if you don't, the glossary sure isn't going to help you. Honestly, if you plan on playing this game, you absolutely need to read the manga first. And heck, even if you don't plan on playing this game, I would recommend reading the manga, because Berserk is one of the greatest dark fantasy stories ever written, and I'd recommend it to just about everyone who has a strong mind and a stomach made of iron. And speaking of dark fantasy, if you like Berserk, I highly recommend checking out Myths and Monsters, my new indie title. It's a turn-based RPG that takes a lot of inspiration from Berserk. It's not nearly as bloody, but it definitely has some dark themes. And it's a great way to support the channel and help me make more videos like this. Anyway, that's all for today, folks. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way to the end. I appreciate every single one of you, and I hope to see you guys next Saturday for the next video, or even in the Discord server, which I'll leave a link to in the description. I appreciate every single one of you making it to the end. This is Troy Schultz, the Anti-Gamer Slayer, signing